Hi, I'm Kerry Goulet, better known as the Gooch. I am the Global Director of Stop Concussions and Connected Mental Health, a worldwide initiative that we are helping to make people understand the cause, effect, consequences, and the management of this injury. And on top of that, dealing with mental health issues that come from concussions. Today, I was going to bring on a guest, but I thought I wanted to make some very important announcements. Uh, I am I'm involved with this since 2010 when we wrote the book Concussed, of course. And Keith and I put this together. Had a bunch of athletes come together and help us tell their stories. And then I got Scott Haller, of course, Chris Nowinski, Tim Fleischer from the sports concussion legacy group. They were just absolutely fantastic in helping us. That's Concussion Legacy Foundation. And we started to put together a book that allowed people to understand you're not alone. This was back in 2011 when it was launched, when Crosby had his major concussion, and we knew we needed to do more. And so what we worked on was a book that would allow you as a person to understand you're not alone, and there's a lot of opportunities for you to understand and educate yourself on this injury. So then, over the last 10 years, I've been working diligently around the world, obviously in Germany, Australia, New Zealand, of course, Canada, United States, and throughout the Western world, and now moving to China with our good friends there. Mike Burrell is helping us launch it there, obviously, once we get through the pandemic. So what wanted to do today is I wanted to be personal and get you to understand what we're going to be doing. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a damn difference. Yes, I know it's a harsh word, but we need to wake up to the reality. There are far too many stories that we're reading about young men, young women, pro athletes, legends of our game, either being in depression, having addiction issues, committing suicide. And trust me, I've lived through most of those, except for obviously addiction and having thoughts of suicide, but never, of course, attempting it. It's real. And I think it's really important that we all come together and make a difference. We have to wake up to the reality that we need to do more and we need to make sports safer. And on top of that, make it more inclusive. And most important, what we need is to get back why we play sport, and it's supposed to be fun. Yes, pro athletes compete for all different reasons. Of course, we know that some is a financial reason, some is obviously having a career for a long period of time. But what about those that don't make pro sports? They suffer in silence. What can we do to make a difference? For every one pro athlete, how many young athletes, aspiring athletes, are damaged before they even get a chance to grow or to even continue on in any type of pro career? And then after the damage, they have to get out and go to school and become part of society again. How do we deal with them? Are they forgotten? What about that semi pro player, whether they're playing hockey, basketball, football, whatever it is, who's toiling and making $300 per week down in the States or overseas, and they come back and they want to keep their dream alive, but they're damaged and they retire with a concussion or a major injury? What happens to them? Who cares once they leave the playing field, the ice, the court? Where do they have to turn to once the sport has left them behind? There's no question we must do more, we need to do more, and we will do more, and we will do it now. I want you to join our Concussed, Understanding the Invisible Injury, and of course our connected platform over the next couple of weeks. We are definitely going to make a difference. We are going to be redoing the book. Jordan LaRoche, who is obviously our producer, who has many times been on our show talking about his specific injury. This book, Concussed: Sports-Related Head Injuries, Prevention, Coping, and Real Stories. That's what this book is about. Written in 2010, published 2011. We are revamping it. It's got great information. It was a Bible at the beginning of it. We're going to go back and see what some of these athletes that wrote their stories, like Wayne Primo, like Keith Primo, like Paul Rosen, Tim Fleischer, Chris Nowinski, some of these great players. Obviously, the story about Eric Pelly and the loss of his life to second impact syndrome. Madeline Uretsky and her mother, they will also be a part of it. And then we're going to ask you, If you have a story to tell about your concussions and how you've come through it, we'd love you to send in, and we'll be doing that over the next couple of weeks. We'll be announcing how you can get involved and help us spread the news, spread the information, get rid of the myths, and get involved in understanding what we need to do. We're going to update this not only on the players' real life stories, but also on the medical aspects. Of course, Scott Haller will play a big part of that, along with Chris Nowinski. So we're looking forward to that, and we're looking forward to you being a part of it because it's so vitally important. Listen, I'm going to get to some of the message in a few minutes. I do want to go through what the reasoning we're doing this now. I have noticed, obviously, there's an increase in depression. Pandemic may have related that or helped create that. We noticed that there's a huge uptake in illegal drugs, prescription drugs, Oxycontin, fentanyl, of all the things that are out there on the market, meth. We can go through the array of them all, but we only think of those type of dangerous drugs. But there's alcohol. There's the prescription drugs, as I just mentioned, that people get hooked on. And it is serious, and we need your help, and we're going to do it now. We've got great people like Robert Wine, and of course, we've got Barry Shelley, who's been a big part of it, watching the show. I know John Cavers is a big advocate of what we do, and I'm sure there's a lot of you that want to know and know now. We can no longer wait. We must act now. In Australia, they have a huge issue with the AFL and the rugby leagues. It's not so much about all the pro athletes that are hurt and we're losing either to addiction or drugs or dementia or Alzheimer's. It's about those young kids. I mentioned earlier, for every one pro player, there's got to be thousands and thousands of young boys and girls that are damaged goods. Or you're playing semi-pro hockey, let's say in the East Coast League, or you're playing semi-rugby for an AFL team and you get hurt and you're no longer able to play. Who takes care of them? We must. We owe it. I played the game for 16 years, had a heck of a career, didn't make it to the National Hockey League, but I had the chance to travel the world. My skates were my passport to the world. I was blessed. Yes, I went through some very rough times with concussions. And yes, I got through it. And yes, I created incredible friendships. And it's given me the opportunity to educate people and help people. One of the greatest gifts that I've been given is I can help. I can help. And I need your help to do that. Listen, what we're going to do, it's going to be a 6-part series, Concussed, Understanding the Invisible Injury, and we're going to go through the full gamut, and I'm going to walk it through you right now. But before we do that, I just want to do a little shout out to Robert Wine. Thank you for joining. Awesome. I'm paying attention, and even though my computer didn't beep, I'm here, and it's always great to have you. Barry Shelley, thank you for always being there. Well said. Thank you for that compliment. Let them know that they are still remembered and thought of. No question there. Here's a good comment from Robert Wine. I'm one of those likely many zillions who owe you thanks for what you shared. I owe you so much because of what you've said to me that you unknowingly changed my self-perspective and saved me. Well, Robert, thank you very much. But you know what? It's you that saved yourself. It's you that believed in yourself. I was just a vessel. I just said maybe the right things at the right time to allow you to understand what you can do to be better. And nobody's more proud and inspired by you than myself. And there's an array of guys like Paul Rosen, of course, talk about Barry Monroe, with his spinal cord injury and what he's done to help others. My role in all of this is to help those that can't help themselves, because there's a lot of you out there. And we're here to make sure we help you with that. Let's get rid of the myths. Let's get full understanding. Let's get doctors. Let's get athletes talking about their stories so you can fully understand. So here's what the 6-part series is going to be about. I'm going to read it off to you. Number 1, the first show, starting next week, we will have right here, what is a concussion? What is post-concussion syndrome? What is diagnosing effectively? And what is the proper treatment? That will be brought to you by Scott Haller from Shift Concussion Management. As you know, he's not only connected to us, I love the pun, but he is one of the best in the world Scott Holler is one of the best to bring you all the information you need to understand what a concussion is, what is post concussion syndrome, what you need to do or understand to be diagnosed effectively, and so that we can put you on a path of recovery. My role is just like a traffic cop. You have an issue, you call me, you email me. I am here 24/7. So the first show will be with Scott Holler from Shift Concussion Management. Go to their website. It is absolutely, truly amazing. And if you don't suffer from concussions or you know nothing about concussions, they have courses that'll teach you. If you're a parent, a coach, an administrator, or you're a therapist, you will be able to understand how to help in this. I would call it a mini epidemic. All right. So here's another one. The consequences of concussions, mental health, addictions, depression, suicide. We just talked about that. Jim Thompson will be joining me on week 2 to talk about that specific. He lived it, he went through it, and he is absolutely one of the best advocates and mentors that we could ask for when it's relating to concussions, addiction, mental health issues. So Jim Thompson will be joining us in the second week to bring us and understand not about a professional athlete as he was, as I was, but more about those young boys and girls, as we talked about, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, 20, 22, who are now finished playing because they're hurt and they can no longer continue with their sport. Where do they go? Who do they turn to? We will talk about that with Jim Thompson. Preparing for sport. These are one of the things that we don't do well. Preparing for sport. It's not lifting weights. No, it's not having a psychologist coach to teach you how to, think the game. It's not about training and getting your body ready to play, a skating coach, a stick handling coach. It's about being prepared mentally. What I mean by that is it's not important to understand why. We must understand we need to. We need to be prepared to play sport. You can't just walk in the dressing room with your, with this going, playing games, headset on, big, huge pounding music, and then expect to get on the ice, concentrate, and play a game. You have to be prepared at all times, whether it's a practice, whether it's shinny, or whether it's an actual game, whether it be in the regular season, a playoff game, a championship game. You have to be prepared. And so we'll talk to Dan Blackburn from NTC. He's an absolute legend in this. He'll talk about the risks and being prepared and how to get prepared. So in week 3, I'm looking forward to having Dan Blackburn join us and talk about the all-important part of being prepared. This one I really like, and this one's going to be very crucial. It's going to be a part of our new series, the book, of course, the Concussed book, updated version 2, and it will be talking about athletes that we talked about with 10 years ago, how they suffered through. What's changed? Not only what has changed for you, are you better? Are you worse? And what have you seen as an athlete from then and now, the changes that have been made to help athletes today prevent and manage concussions? Because we know it's a serious issue and we need to do something about it. And I'll tell you what, we're very blessed. We're going to be talking to guys like Keith Primo, Paul Rosen, of course, will be here, Ryan Phillips, Brady Leovold, and a cast of crew of many. But this young man who I've been watching and following for such a long time, his name is Nick Mercer. It's called Concussion Talk. I will have him on the program specifically to talk about not only his great platform, but listen to him. He was a cyclist and he'll tell you his story and he will open your eyes on living with the concussion, whether it's living through your full life with a concussion or eliminating some of those symptoms and being able to have a new normal. And Keith Primo will talk to us best about that. Number 5 is another really exciting one. We talk about inclusion, inclusive to the sport, making it fun and making sure we understand it. And here's one, women's sports. Concussions are a huge risk. And we're told that it is a leading sport in concussions. We're going to ask Dr. Kaylin Walter from Shift Concussion Management. She's going to talk to us about the dynamics of women's sports and the increase of concussions and the longevity of concussions. They supposedly last longer in women. We're going to ask her. She's going to give us obviously the breakdown on why, what, and where when it comes to women in sport and concussions. And finally, the one that I'm going to be very heavily involved is understanding CTE and the relevance to it in concussions. What is CTE? Do we need to be scared of it? Do we need to understand it? And the best that's going to help us there is Chris Nowinski from Concussion Legacy Foundation. And I know Tim Fleischer will also be joining us, and we'll be talking to them. They do an amazing work all across North America with Dr. Ann McKee, Dr. Robert Cantu, of course, Dr. Chris Nowinski, Tim Fleischer up here in Canada. They do an amazing job, and we will be talking to them. Obviously, we'll be talking with Scott Haller a lot, and he'll be bringing videos and concepts to you to understand concussions from A to Z. It's going to be in layman's terms so that all of us can understand it, which is really important. All right, here's a great opportunity to listen to Matthew Meisner, a huge Buffalo Sabres fan, all the way from Argentina. Thank you for staying up. Well, I don't think it's any later. I think it's 1 hour. I'm working hard to get proper helmets on every kid here, as hockey is growing, but the amount of equipment here is not. It's a challenge. It's not easy, but we have made great strides in Argentina. Listen, Matthew, I am going to put you in contact with somebody that's going to help you with this issue. I give you my word, we are going to find a way to get you proper helmets and some equipment delivered down to Argentina. I know it's a difficult task, but I promise you, I will work tirelessly to get that done, as I have to the Ice Factor group in Australia, Adelaide, Australia. I know that we can do that for you, Matthew. And of course, we'll keep you in our thoughts and prayers as you follow the Buffalo Sabres. Listen, this is a great book, and I'm not here to sell anything. We're not selling the book. We are now putting it on digitally. It will be available. All you have to do is come to our website, put your email address in there, and we will send you a digital copy of the book. We have it in flip book form, and we have it for you as a PDF. And it will not only tell you about why I got involved, some of the trials and tribulations I lived in. Excuse me, I'm still battling a little bit of a cold. It's going to talk to you about many things, and it will talk to you about diagnosing a concussion, concussion testing, concussion management, getting back to normal, equipment, as you just talked about, Matthew. What are the myths about helmets versus properly fitting equipment? Possible long-term effects of concussions, really important to understand. And of course, talking with all these great athletes that had contributed to the book, there are many. It will also talk about the Crosby factor. When Crosby got hurt, we really didn't take it as serious until that injury. And then all of a sudden, we realized we certainly had to do something and do it quickly. Listen, Sidney Crosby's mentioned in the book quite often here, Chris Pronger. These are athletes that we lost along the way as far as time spent in the National Hockey League because of these injuries. We know that athletes like Brett Lindros, Nick Kyprios, Stephen Rice, Pat LaFontaine, Jeff Courtnall, Jeff Bukaboom, Mike Richter, a famous goalie for the New York Rangers, Stu Grimson, Jason Botterill, Keith Primo, Matthew Barnaby. I could go on and on. That is all in this book, and we will be getting that out to you in a flip book version or a PDF. All right, here's what it is. We are going to make a damn difference, and we're going to do it together. You are going to help. We're going to get started tomorrow. We're already working with our good friend Jordan LaRoche. He is putting together a plan of attack to tackle this updated version of Concussed, Understanding the Invisible Injury. So in a couple of months, we will have a new version of the book, but you can get it now if you want it. And we will be doing a 6-part series as of next week, starting with Scott Haller. We'll talk about what concussions are. Number 2, the consequences of concussions, mental illness, addiction, depression, and suicide. Jim Thompson will be here helping us walk us through that. Preparing for the risks of course, Dan Blackburn will be there to give his take on how to be prepared for the game. Living with a concussion, we're going to have an array, and you can participate. You can send in a story into us, and we will highlight your story about your concussion. Number 5, week 5, will be all about women's sports, and we will have Dr. Kaylin Walter from Shift Concussion Management here. And of course, the final white week will be understanding CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, and that will be done by Chris Nowinski, of course, Dr. Chris Nowinski, Tim Fleischer, and a bunch of other great people from the Concussion Legacy Foundation. Listen, I wanted to keep it short. I just think it's really important that we understand that we are in a pandemic. Obviously, there are new rules coming or new variations, the variants that are going to shift, and we're going to have to pivot again, but we are here for you. You have any issues, whether it's mental issues, you can just email me. I'm going to put it up right now. I'm going to take a few seconds here to put a banner up. I want you to write this down. And if you need any help at all, I should have this ready. I apologize. You please reach out. And I promise you, 24/7, we will be here for you. Okay? There it is. Goulet29 at stopconcussions.com. Write it down. Write it down right now. And I want you to do this. I want you to write this telephone number down. Okay, you got it. Goulet29 at stopconcussions.com. Then I want you to do this. 416-828-2929. That is my telephone number. It is my personal telephone. You will call if you have any issues, if you need any help for you, your loved ones, a friend. I am here for you at all times. Listen, the pandemic has taught me one very important thing. There are a lot of people that can't help themselves. And so we can do that. We can be there for you. We can be a voice. I'm not a doctor, but what I am is somebody that can listen and do it without judgment. I've been there. I've been where people have been on this dark side. So we will help you through this. All right. So please take some time. 416-828-2929. And then, of course, Goulet29 at stopconcussions.com. I've got an amazing team. I've got a psychotherapist, Stephen Morris. I've got the best concussion expert and experts that we need in on the planet. Of course, with Scott Holler from Shift Concussion Management, Dr. Kaylin Walter from Shift Concussion Management. I can make a phone call to Chris Nowinski, who is arguably the best in the industry when it comes to CTE. I want to make a difference, and I'm going to make it now. I will promise you, we will make a damn difference together. Hey, listen, this has been Concussed, Understanding the Invisible Injury. Wanted to keep it short because next week we started off. It'll be anywhere from 45 minutes to 1 hour. Circle it. It's going to be next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I need you to be here. I need you to bring everybody that wants to know about concussions and what we can do collectively, not only to help you if you're suffering or help other people who are suffering from it, that we can get and make sure we get them the proper care, help, and understanding that they need. And of course, along with that comes mental health, our connected mental health platform. We are here for you at all times. All right. I thank you so much for being a part of tonight. It was a quick one, but an important one. Don't forget, we are here at all times. Goulet29, stopconcussions.com, and of course, 416-828-2929. All right. Until next Tuesday with Scott Holler, get yourself ready. We are making a damn difference.